Hey everybody, here's a quick video on how to find the area of composite shapes. As of now, we know how to find the area of standard shapes like rectangles, triangles, squares, etc. But sometimes we have shapes that are a combination of those standard shapes. Since we don't have a formula or an equation to find the area based on the new created shape, what we can do is we can break apart these kind of funny looking shapes into shapes that we are already familiar with. Notice that these are all L-type shapes, and in order to get an L-type shape, what we've done is created two rectangles together to make these shapes. So what we are going to do when we find a composite shape like this, one that we're not familiar with, we're going to draw lines to break it apart so that we now have rectangles that we can find the area of, and then we can add them together. So notice this length is 9 inches here, and this is 5 inches. So if this is 5 inches, then from here to here is also 5 inches. If the entire length was 9, if we take off this 5 here, what's left over is 4. So that's really the trick in finding the area of these types of shapes. When you draw lines to break apart the shape into rectangles, you need to find out what the lengths of the rectangles are. So by doing that, we've got 9 split into 5 and now 4. So now we actually have the length and width of each of the smaller rectangles. So this rectangle up here is 7 by 4, which is 28 inches squared. Okay, and then here, notice we have the length of this as 5, but we don't actually have this width yet. What we want to do is look for what other lines are parallel to this. So I have this line I don't know. I have this line that's also parallel to that, but I don't know that either. And then we have this line, which is 7 inches. So if we compare all of these, if you notice, this is 7 inches. That means this is 7 inches. And here we have 4. So if I took off this 4 here, what would be left over? Right, that would be 3. Since 3 plus 4 gives us 7, I know that if this is 3 and this is 4, that gives me that total length. What I'm left over with is now 5 by 3, which is 15 inches squared. If this rectangle is 28 inches and this is 15 inches squared, I can now add them together. Of course, we could do this in our head, but it's nice to show the work, right? Oops. So now we get 43 inches squared. What you can imagine is that if you had all of the squares filled in, you would have 7 going this way and 4 rows of 7. That would be 28 of those little squares. Here you'd have 3 by 5. There would be 15 little squares. And if you were to count them all up, there would be 43 inches squared total. So the idea is wherever you can see a line that you can break your shape into, you could even do it this way too. When you draw that line and you create either squares or rectangles, then you can find the areas of those smaller pieces and add them together. Don't forget that if you have the full length here and another parallel length here, so 55 and 35, that would leave this to be 20, right? If that's 20 and that's 35, that gives us the 55. So then you could do 20 times 55 to get this area, and then you'd have to figure out this length times 35 to get this area. Okay, so there's one question on the practice quiz that we want you to do this method with and find the area.